name is Roderick Perkins, and I'm with Small Business Administration. I've been with SBA for probably about 12 years, and prior to SBA, I spent a number of years going around examining or regulating federal credit unions, and prior to that, I spent a number of years in banking. So I have a banking background, and I use my banking background to help me do my job at SBA. I took a risk. Now, how many people have heard of opportunity zones? Do we have any experts on opportunity zones? Are we seeking understanding on opportunity zones?
Yes.
Yeah. I am too. So that's why I say I'm taking a risk. That's outside of my responsibilities with SBA, but I'm just kind of an analytical kind of guy, and so I want to present some information on opportunity zones. Because my concern with opportunity zones is to set up to help low-income communities, and my concern is that low-income communities may not be helped. They may not be helped as much. So I want to share a little bit of information on opportunity zones, but first I want to make sure you have an understanding of SBA and how we're structured. Basically, we have a counseling division, and every state has a district office. We have a counseling division, I call it a counseling division, where we provide free business assistance and free business counseling, primarily through our resource partners. We have a relatively small staff in Alabama, so we rely on the resource partners. We have small business development centers, and we heard of small business development centers. And we have about 10 in the state. They're affiliated with the major universities in the state. We don't have one at Tuskegee. We do have one at Auburn, and we have one at Alabama State. So Tuskegee is in the middle. We have what we call SCORE, Service Corps, or Resource Executives. There's about 6 chapters in the state of Alabama. They provide free business assistance and free business counseling. They actually get grant dollars from the SBA to provide that service to the community. We have women's business centers. We have 3 in the state of Alabama. We have 1 in Huntsville, and we have 2 in the Mobile market. We have 1 in Birmingham. They shut down several years ago. So that's the counseling division. We have a contracting or a business development division where we work with small business owners to help them get federal contracts. And that's, we talk about economic development. I know we're talking funding, but contracting, that's a source of business, source of revenue, source of sales. Do you have your hand raised?
No.
No, okay. That's a source of sales for small business owners, which is economic development. And to me, and everybody will have their own definition of what economic development means, but community development to me really is support from the city or the state to help build that community, to help the community. Economic development would be, support from the private sector, private industries. I'm a very detail-oriented person, so I try not to go into the details. I mean, there's several slides here. I wasn't sure what the format would be. I didn't go into any details on the lending program. I'll talk about them, and you can ask questions. Access to capital, we have a lender relation division, which is where I work. And my primary role is to work with the banks to get them to lend more money to small business owners. We have a guaranteed loan program. On our primary loan program, we guarantee a bank loans up to $5 million. Okay, so there's no pre-approved certificate you get from SBA that you take to the bank. You actually go to the bank, kind of like the B&I program. You go to the bank, you apply to the bank will underwrite the loan request, basically identify the risk involved. If they're comfortable with the risk that they identify, then they can do the loan without an SBA guarantee. If they're not comfortable with that risk, instead of declining the loan request, they can use an SBA guarantee to mitigate that risk, okay? Now, economic development, I don't know if SBA has figured out what that really means. In most of our district offices, we have an economic development specialist. We don't have one in Alabama. So I have that title, economic development, lender relations, and even veteran affairs. So economic development to me, I'm looking at it from a lending perspective, that means job creations. Under our 504, we monitor job creation based on the loan guarantees that we make, but under the 504 loan program, which we're going to find larger loans, we actually have a requirement for job creation. Because the 504 loan program is more of a community and economic development loan program. So that's a requirement to create or retain jobs under that program. We do have a disaster loan program, which is a direct loan program. There's no bank involved. You get a direct loan from SBA, but only in the case of a federally declared disaster. Okay? Any questions on how we're structured? Some initiatives I want to point out with SBA, and I broke them down into lender relation division and business development contracting division. Those are our primary divisions. On the lender relation side, we have our initiative called the Lender Match. Now, how many have heard of LendingTree.com? Do they still exist? I think they still exist, but LendingTree.com is the same concept. But with LendingTree.com, you go online, you actually complete an application for a loan, and you submit it, and it goes out to several banks, and they actually approve the loan request. So you may get 5 approvals, and you kind of look at the terms of the loan and you decide which one you want to take. Now, the Lender Match program is similar format, but you're not completing the application. You go on SBA's website, you basically create a profile, and that profile goes out to banks. And the banks, anywhere in the country, can sign up to receive the emails, receive a copy of your profile. They'll look at the profile, and if they're interested, then they'll give you a call. And you kind of talk about whether you're going to complete an application or not. So you're not going to get approved, but you get a lender that will review your profile and get an opportunity to talk to a lender. And that has proven to be a very successful program, Lender Match. The Campaign for the 100, which is an Alabama-specific initiative, which is one that I created several years ago. And the goal is to get more loans in the Black Belt region of Alabama. I mean, there was just a lack of lending in the Black Belt, and of course the goal was not to get 100 loans. And I looked at the numbers, say a 5 or 6 year period, there were only a handful of loans made in 10 counties in the Black Belt region. And so my goal was to go out and conduct training with the bankers and training with the small business owners, because my role primarily is to bridge the gap between the business owner and the bank to get some deals done. And so I really use my banking background to try to get some deals done. How many people have heard of the Rural Strong Initiative? You have not. That initiative is started, within the Southeast region, Region 4, and the goal really is to reach out to rural communities to help start businesses, help businesses expand or grow, to get capital into those rural markets and investment into those rural markets. And so in Alabama, we've had 2 events so far, and we partnered with the USDA. We had an event in Baldwin County. Now, sometimes I have a tendency to be honest, sometimes it helps me, sometimes it doesn't help me. Technically, Baldwin County, it's a rural area, but it's underserved. I'm leaning on the underserved side. You got a lot of markets that may be rural, but not really underserved. So I think we need to kind of put those 2 together. That's an issue coming top down. So if it's top down, then, it needs to be implemented. We had an event in Pike County. Rural, yes. Underserved, probably not. But there's an event that's going to take place in Demopolis, actually a week from today. So now we're kind of getting back to what I think, the Black Belt, the biggest underserved market in the state. The biggest historically underutilized business zone in the state. And so there needs to be some activity in the Black Belt region of Alabama.
What are y'all doing to get banks to participate? Because that seems to be a problem.
Well, my role is to develop good relationships with the banks. I used to say my role to shake up the banks. I don't say that anymore because I want to have good relationships. So, I connect with the banks, with the underwriters. People actually make decisions on these loans instead of declining the loan request. They can use the SBA guarantee to mitigate whatever risk they identify. So I'm working closely with the banks throughout the state. Now, there's 2 sides of the coin. You got the banking side, and actually I just read an article with the National Reinvestment Coalition organization, and they did a survey. They sent some undercover folk to the different branches, and the result was, African Americans got less favorable treatment. And I know that to be true, because I worked with a young lady. She was in the Huntsville market. I never met her face to face, and we communicated over the phone through email. She was looking to start a snow cone business in the Huntsville market. And so she called me, and she had a job. She had a contracting job. And she actually had a contract with a store on base in Restaurant Arsenal on base. And they offered her a contract. And you know, she did a business plan, she did some projections, and I told her, I said, next step is to go to the bank to apply for the loan. So she went to the bank, went to a branch. That's the first place you would go. I mean, she's gonna apply for a business loan, you would walk into a branch, that's first, unless you have a relationship with a business banker or a commercial lender. And I encourage you to develop a relationship with a business banker before you need it, or her, need him or her. Develop a relationship with a commercial lender. So she went into the branch, and the branch manager looked at her business plan. She had a good business plan, had projections, and the branch manager told her, said, well, the bank's not gonna do this deal. The bank won't do this. And so the young lady just got her stuff and kind of walked out, and then she called me afterward. And, you know, technically, the bank broke the law, but they didn't afford her the opportunity to go through the application process. Okay, she didn't go through the application process. Who's to say that, you know, the branch manager was not discriminating against her? You know, no one said it. So she should have accepted an application, sent the application to underwriting. If they're going to decline it, then it's the law. They had to provide her with a denial letter stating the reason for decline. They didn't do that. So, you know, it's real. And I'm working with the banks, and I have a banking background, so I'm trying to get them to do more deals. You know, I took the long route to answer your question. Did I answer your question?
Did you help?
Did I help her? Yeah, she called me, and so we talked, and I referred her to what's called an SBA certified micro lender. They made micro. Now she needed $80,000. Now this micro lender, they did micro loans, small loans up to $50,000, and they did SBA guarantee loans up to $250,000. So I referred her to the micro lender, and she emailed me back saying that I just want to let you know, it's 2 weeks. I'm still surprised. She said, I just want to let you know that I'm closing on my loan today. So she was helped by a non-bank lender, non-profit lender. Okay. Opportunity zone. Like I said, I'm taking a risk. I'm stepping out there because, you know, I want you to understand. I want Tuskegee to understand. I know we're in Montgomery. I don't know how many people from Tuskegee in this room, but I want Tuskegee and I want the HBCUs to understand, because it could benefit HBCUs and the community, local community. So essentially, you know, the opportunity zone allows capital gains, so individuals and corporations that have capital gains, they can take those capital gains and simply put, if I bought a stock for $5, I sold it for $10, so that's an increase in $5, right? Increase of $5. Mm-hmm. So that's a capital gain. So I'm required to pay taxes on that capital gain. Now that's $5. Now we're talking about $5 million. And so individuals and corporations can take the capital gain and put it into an opportunity fund. And the purpose of the opportunity fund is to invest in low-income communities. Okay, and so if the individual or the corporation keep that, say, $5 million in that opportunity fund for 10 years, now they still have to pay capital gains tax, but it's reduced by 15%. Okay, so they're paying less capital gains tax. And that $5 million is an investment. The opportunity fund is an investment fund. So that $5 million is increasing. So that $5 million in 10 years could be $10 million. And so $5 million to $10 million, that's $5 million capital gain, right? They don't have to pay taxes on that. Okay. So the purpose of the opportunity fund is to invest in low-income communities, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Yes, sir.
Let me interject. I was looking around the room for Mayor Tuskegee.
He left. He walked out.
He walked out for a second, but there was an issue that, well, considered the issue of the opportunity zone that was dedicated to the I-85 area right outside of the city limits of Tuskegee, right there, exit 38. It was real surprising that.
Go ahead and talk. I'm gonna fast forward.
It was real surprising that the decision was made on focusing on some tracks right at 85, and you have a dire need around the university and the city of Tuskegee. You know, if you visited Tuskegee, there's a lot of need there. Downtown area, revitalization needed. Around the university, revitalization needed. And those areas were left out. And so there's still a big concern and wondering how that happened. I'm just pointing that out. As the other side of, you know, having the opportunity zones is great, but then certain areas being left out on those census tracts.
Okay,
anyway.
let me let me back up. Let's do this. Okay, so we got a Decker that's in the room today. I don't want to overstep my bounds, but there's the map, the green represent, and this came from a Decker's website. Okay, so there's the map, the green represent opportunity zone. So the justification, has been a mega site or not, it has to be, but the justification for selecting the area as an opportunity zone, mega site, commercial development potential, or revitalization. Okay, so the map is showing the green is qualified opportunity zone. So based on this, the yellow part, there were 1,100 census tracts total in the state. Of those 1,100, 629 were qualified as low-income tracts. So the governor had to select 158 out of the 629 eligible. So I don't know what the selection process was. So somebody got left out.
There you go. That's that area that we are.
Yeah. So somebody got left out. And so, another question?
Go back to that.
You want me to go back?
So out of the 629 that were eligible, only 158 got selected.
That's correct. And that was not the governor's choice. She was limited to selecting 158. And I don't know why. She was limited to selecting 158 as opportunity zones. So I'm sure she got with maybe a DECA and they just kind of, provide some rationale to select opportunity zones. And I don't know the answer to that. And so here's an example, and I kind of told you how the opportunity zone, the opportunity fund works. You got that initial capital gains, you keep it in that investment for at least 10 years, and then your capital gain tax is reduced by 15%, and then at 5 million, it grows to say 10 million. So that's a $5 million capital gain that you pay no taxes on. Okay, that's the top illustration. Now, there's a deal that was done in Birmingham. Now I mentioned individuals have capital gains, corporations have capital gains as well. Okay, so PNC Bank, they created the PNC Opportunity Zone Community Development Fund. Okay, so out of that fund, they did a deal, and I don't know if this was the first opportunity zone deal in the southeast or not, but I know PNC Bank did a couple deals in up north, I think in Pittsburgh. But they did a deal, the American Life building, it's gonna be a revitalization, 140 new workforce housing units. And the American Life building, I think the building is probably over 40 years old. Had been sitting vacant for a long time. And so out of the Opportunity Zone Investment Fund, PNC pulled $11 million. They did an equity investment. Okay, so they purchased ownership interest, $11 million. And at the same time, the bank, now the Opportunity Fund is a separate legal entity, separate from the bank. So the bank is PNC Bank is putting their capital gains into this investment fund. Okay, and so the investment fund, they did an equity investment, $11 million, and the bank did a loan for $4.2 million. And Alabama Saves, you mentioned Alabama Saves earlier, they invested $2 million, and the city of Birmingham did an equity investment of $2.2 million. Okay, so I think that was the first opportunity zone deal in the Southeast, if I'm not mistaken. Did everybody understand that? Okay, just looking at the chart at the bottom right, you see the unemployment rate, poverty rate, U.S. average versus the opportunity zone. So you can see you got higher numbers as far as unemployment rate, the poverty rate, and the minority population in the opportunity zone. Okay. Any questions on that?
Yeah, I have a question. So lending is not necessarily to small businesses. Does that opportunity, people who put into that fund, do they determine who gets the funds? Who determines that?
The fund, they'll make that determination. They set their criteria. And you see here, PNC Bank, affordable housing, revitalization, economic development. Those are the criteria they set. Now this is separate. Now the opportunity zone is not, it's a federal initiative, it's not an SBA initiative. So SBA is kind of separate from that. And I'm just going out on the limb and sharing this information. Now, the way SBA could work, so to answer your question, is they set the guidelines. Now, I think I have an example. Now, there's another deal on the books in Tuscaloosa. And I think I showed you that map. I get to that map of Macon County and Tuscaloosa. You'll see a similar shape based on where the universities are. Tuskegee is not part of the Opportunity Zone. And then in Tuscaloosa, the University of Alabama, Tuscaloosa is not part of the Opportunity Zone, but Stillman College is. And so that's a deal on the table to build some, a hotel training building at Stillman. We'll talk about that on the next slide. But, and that's primarily, you know, this is a Renaissance HBCU Opportunity Fund. So their goal is to focus primarily on historically black colleges, okay? And so they set their own criteria, and so they're gonna invest primarily in real estate, and the property types, commercial, multifamily, residential, and workforce housing. And so they're doing investments in 20 states. And I think Alabama has about 15 HBCUs, most in the country, okay? And the fund size is $50 million. So they're funding the Stillman College Opportunity Zone Initiative. And we'll talk about that in a little detail in just a moment. So here's Tuscaloosa. You see the U shape. The university is not in the green. They're in the middle. University of Alabama. Stillman College is the little red circle. That's the census tract. That includes Stillman College. That covers about 421 acres. And the unemployment rate 10%. And you know, number of businesses in that tract, 36 businesses in that tract. Okay? Does that make sense? And so here's the deal, and I don't know the details. Now I don't know really the structure coming from the Opportunity Fund, whether it's strictly equity investment or strictly debt. But PNC Bank, their deals will be a combination of equity and debt. That makes sense? They're gonna take ownership interest, then they're gonna loan you some money. Okay? And so this particular deal here, I don't know what the structure is, you know, or is it just equity investment or just debt? So they're looking to build a 125-room teaching hotel on campus in Stillman. So I'm thinking maybe they're probably gonna tear down some buildings and build this new building. And so it's gonna be a teaching center for the school's hospitality management program. It's gonna be mixed use residential and commercial space. And they're gonna have houses for faculty and graduate students. Yes, ma'am.
So that would have to go through your board of trustees or your college president to go this route, right?
Yeah, for Tuskegee. Yeah, let me say this. You know, the president of Stillman, and I can't remember her name, I talked with her. She's only been there, 3-4 years. I talked with her several years ago. She shared this with me. It was her vision. She shared with me, and so I said, okay, let's get some banks together. Commonwealth Bank, minority-owned bank in Mobile, Liberty Bank, that bought First Tuskegee, African-American owned. Citizen Trust Bank out of Birmingham. Well, actually, they were bought out by Citizen Trust Bank in Atlanta. They have a branch in Birmingham. And All American Bank, which is in African-American owned, which is in Birmingham. And I tried to pull the banks together to see if they'd be willing to invest in something like this, and that didn't materialize. And so here it is, you know, several years later. So now we got a deal that's really, without the Opportunity Fund, this deal may not have materialized. And this is a deal that's on the table. I don't know where they are, whether it's like a final deal, let's move forward, or they're still working out the kinks on this deal. But the Renaissance HBCU Opportunity Fund, I can see this at Tuskegee. Now, I'm from Birmingham, but I can see this at Tuskegee. So let's look at the map. So here's Macon County. So in Macon County, there are 3 opportunity zones, 3 census tracts. One of them is in Short, Alabama. And then you got one, the Moulton Field, where they're doing the T100 project.
Right, it was, yeah.
Is it still on the
The
table?
T100 fell through.
Okay.
Boeing was the recipient of that.
Okay.
Came close, St. Louis.
So that area where Moulton Field is designated as Opportunity Zone. And then the other area is the city of Tuscaloosa. So we're talking city of Tuscaloosa, that's about 63,000 acres, 4% unemployment rate. In Short, Alabama, 68,000 acres. There are 53 businesses in Shorter and 70 businesses in the city of Tuskegee. Any questions on that? Now, is this helpful? I mean, I went out on a limb. I don't have all the answers, but I went out on a limb. And so here's the Moulton Field Opportunity Zone Census Tract, and I got that from, so that's not on the table.
That's done. Bowen was a recipient.
Okay.
Lost to the big boys.
Okay. So that area is still classified as Opportunity Zone. We're talking about 20,000 acres, 19 businesses in that tract. Okay. Now, I'll be in Demopolis next week, and so I'll probably be sharing the same information. This is Marengo County, and you can see at Demopolis, there's a census tract, 315 businesses, about 25,000 acres. We're gonna move forward, and this is Selma. And so they're showing 180 businesses in Selma, but it's only 1,700 acres. Okay? And that's just FYI. Another strategic initiative of SBA is called the All Small Mentor Project Program. Now, has anybody heard of that? No? Okay. So I work in the lender relation division. My role is to work with the banks to get the banks to lend more money to small business owners. We have, as I mentioned, we have a business development division or contracting division where we work with small business owners to help them get federal contracts, do business with the federal government. So we had what's called an 8A program. Anybody heard of the 8A program? We had an 8A program where you go through SBA's process and we give you a stamp, we give you a certification, 8A. And so once you become an 8A firm, we'll work with you to help you get federal contracts. Okay? And as part of that 8A program, we had a 8A mentor protege program where we'll connect you with a mentor. It's all about business development. Okay? Well, the problem was, if I was a small business, which means I'm eligible to go after those contracts that are kind of set aside for small businesses. If I was not an 8A firm, but a small business, and I connected with a mentor, let's say Brassfield and Gore. Brassfield and Gore is not a small business, but I'm connecting, they willing to serve as a mentor to me. So that would render me ineligible. That's what's called an affiliation rule. I'm a small business, Brassfield and Gore is not a small business, I'm affiliated with them. So that renders me ineligible to go after those contracts set aside for small business. So that's unfair, right? Now, if I was an 8A firm, then it's okay, because that's an 8A mentor project program. So SBA created the All Small Mentor Project Program. And basically what that means is all small businesses, if you can connect with a mentor without being impacted by the affiliation rule, and you still can go after those contracts that are set aside for a small business. That makes sense? Okay?
So you don't have to be 8A in this?
You don't have to be 8A. I took the scenic route, but you don't have to be 8A. And this chart here basically showing, there are more than 891 mentor project agreements throughout the country. And, we probably don't have, I don't know how many 8A firms we have in Tuskegee. Probably not many. 2? Somebody said 2? No, you probably don't have any.
I don't know the current number, but there have been some over the years.
Yeah.
Number.
But it's a small amount, right?
Small amount.
And even in the Black Belt region, probably very few 8A firms. And so we need to do a better job in doing outreach to those markets. And so this chart is showing basically in Alabama, total of 42 mentors and proteges, and 60% are in the Huntsville-Madison market. And so everybody gravitate toward the Huntsville market. Even the state of Alabama. We're putting a lot of dollars in the Huntsville market. Okay, so we kind of redirect that. And so that's just the Black Belt region, 0%. Then you go back? It's good. Direct loan program. Our primary loan program It's called the 7A loan program, where we guarantee a back loan up to $5 million. And again, like I said earlier, there's no pre-approved certificate you get from SBA. You basically go to the bank, apply for the loan. The bank will identify the risk. If they're comfortable with the risk, then they can do the deal without an SBA guarantee. If they're not comfortable with the risk, instead of declining the loan request, they can use the SBA guarantee to mitigate that risk. And so,
Why are banks hesitant to use the SBA guarantee?
we got a banker in the room. Just raise his hand.
Traditionally, the banks themselves are hesitant to use the SBA guarantee for two reasons. One, if they're a traditional financial institution, they have to still hold some of that on their books, meaning they have to still hold some of that loan. So if it does go bad, there still is an opportunity for them to actually take a loss by doing that loan. Secondly, there's a particular score, or not necessarily a score, but a success rate that you want to have with the SBA. It's like insurance. And so when you continue to file claims with your insurance provider, they traditionally will nicely send you a letter and say, hey, you're either going to up your rates or you may need to go find somebody else to insure you. It's kind of just something very similar when we continue to cash in. While we have that guarantee there, we want to make sure that we're doing good loans. An entity wants to make sure that they're doing good loans to be able to show the SBA that they don't have to continue to pay out these guarantees that they have. And so while it is a product that makes it more attractive to lending institutions to use it, there's still some risk involved, and those entities want to make sure. It just depends on what kind of entity. So if you're going to a larger top 40 United States bank to get an SBA loan, that requirement is going to be different if you're going to a community bank, a credit union, or like an entity like myself, or a CDFI, or community development entity. So it really depends on who you go after to get that SBA loan. That kind of changes the narrative on when you're getting that type of funding.
No, years ago, people bankers felt that, the way the guarantee program works is say, on our primary loan program, the 7A loan program, we're guaranteed 85% or 75% of the loan amount. So the loan amount of $150,000 or less, we will guarantee back 85%. More than $150,000, we'll guarantee back 75%. So if you go to the bank, say you want to borrow $200,000, and they decide to do that loan with an SBA guarantee. So it's more than $150,000, so SBA will guarantee back 75%. So if you're paying as agreed, let's say the economy tanks, and the bank, we give the bank authority to defer payment. You struggling making payments, they can defer payments up to 90 days. So you go up to 90 days without making a payment. And so say 90 days roll around, you still have a problem. You decide you're going to close the business. And so the bank would basically liquidate whatever the collateral is. They would sell the collateral, and whatever they get from the sale of the collateral, they will apply that to the loan and come up with a final loan balance. And at that point, the bank will come to SBA and we'll cut a check for 75% of that final loan amount. And the bank will just, the 25%, the bank will just write off.
Yep.
And then the 75%, we'll work with you and you have to pay SBA back. We'll work with you, set up some kind of reasonable payment plan. That's how the guarantee works. So are there any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
What type of programs are available beyond the extended market of funding when it comes to factoring and whatnot? A lot of times in my particular industry, we get jobs but we're not always prepaid for everything, so then when we have to hire a sub to do portions of the work or partner with another company or whatever, the offsets are imbalanced for us, but it's difficult because we're not looking for a loan, we're looking for an exchange. Where are those types of programs available?
That's me. So with, I'm a business development officer for True Fund Financial Services, and one of the things that we do is we offer contract mobilization support for contractors. And so that traditionally is different from factoring while we're not dealing with invoices. Factoring deals a lot with invoices. You sell the invoices. We deal with the contract itself. And so if you have a contract directly with an agency, or if you have a contract that you're a sub on, as long as that sub or agency is willing to assign the payment mechanism over to True Fund, we'll actually give you 30% of the value of your contract up front that's necessary. And so we can help you to navigate through that process. Once the payments come in, we'll check in with you, see how you're doing with the money that we gave you up front if you need more. But if not, we'll traditionally take up to 30% of that, and that goes on for about 12 to 18 months. It's a very short-term deal, and helps you to be able to mobilize and move forward without having to, because you may not be able to get a credit line or whatever may be necessary at the bank. And so that's something that we offer to contractors in the state of Alabama.
And, you know, for the SBA is concerned, I mean, we do have a line of credit program. So you can actually get a line of credit. We have a contract line of credit program where you get the funding as you work in the project, you get a contract, you work in the project, you make draws on the contract line of credit. Now, there has to be, that contract has to be assignable to the bank. Okay, so you're making draws to complete your project, and say it take you 90 days, in 90 days you complete your project. Now, the check is not gonna come directly to you, it's gonna go to the bank. The bank's gonna pay off the balance on the line of credit and charge you whatever fees they charge you, and that remaining amount come to you, and that will be 100% profit. So we do have lines of credit programs in place to help individuals that get contracts.
Okay, thank you.
If we're gonna have time. Let me interject here. Ms. Perkins is gonna be available this afternoon at another session at 2:45 this afternoon. So I know you probably have some other questions and start talking about those dollars.